Okay, we're recording. Except that sucks balls. I don't know why it's so bad.
Are we Playlinks or are we just Cameron and Topher?
Oh, we're definitely Playlinks, but we're also Cam and Topher. We are both.
Good.
We are all of the above. All of the above. So, Cameron, if you've watched the channel long enough, if I put this online, it may just be with friends, but if you've watched the channel long enough, you know that we are pretty big fans of Kingdom Hearts. And last night, January 23rd, the newest game, 2.8, the final chapter prologue thing, came out. Cameron, you got it because I don't own a PlayStation 4 because I'm a fucking scrub. You got it. You played it. Okay, let's. We just watched the movie. We've got stuff to talk about there. But thoughts on a fragmentary passage?
Fragmentary Passage. Okay, well, Fragmentary Passage was a real great in-depth look at Aqua and kind of like what transpired when she was in the realm of darkness. I'm assuming people watching this or hearing this would know it's spoiler heavy. So,
Yes. If you haven't played the game and or watched the movie of back cover, then do that first. Otherwise,
do.
A, none of it will make sense to you,
because it confused
and
us.
B, it's going to be spoiler heavy.
Very spoiler heavy. So basically, it goes through her battle, I would say, with herself in finding out what she wants, because inevitably she wants to be back with her friends, Terra and Ventus, and basically what ended up happening through this game is that she revisits the worlds that have fallen to darkness, which is a common element we've seen in Kingdom Hearts, but we've never actually seen what happens to those worlds. Mm-hmm. And if people remember from playing the most recent 2.5, or who might have even seen the original Japanese final mix of Birth by Sleep, the very end of the game shows that Aqua finds the castle of one of the Disney princesses that been in the Dark Realm. And that's where the game starts, is you're at that castle, and it's her, well, what the heck is this doing here? But I don't want to just give you the synopsis of the story, because I encourage everybody to play it. But basically, she sees visions of her old friends throughout the levels that you play. And at the same time, she wants to figure out, how can I get back? That's the whole thing. That's like the biggest thing about a Fragmentary Passage.
Mm-hmm.
And the game does a really good job of introducing mechanics of Kingdom Hearts 3, I would definitely say. It's definitely a good beta, I would argue, for Kingdom Hearts 3. As you saw, like elements with like just jumping between rocks and sliding on things. Like, that's
it's
all new.
Really cool. By the way, you can cast Blizzard, and it shoots a thing of ice in front of you, and then you can like slip and slide on the ice. It's fucking cool.
It is really cool.
Well good, mate.
Well good.
But
I don't want to give like a full story synopsis per se, but I think it was very good. It was a very good game, and I encourage any Kingdom Hearts fan who has previously played Birth by Sleep, or I would at least, I don't know, maybe a couple of the main, like 1, 2, you could maybe play it, but I would definitely say Birth by Sleep to understand.
I think you kind of have to.
What the heck's going on? Because Nomura, the creator and director of many of our favorite titles from Square Enix, he always intended on telling Aqua's story in the Dark Realm at some point. And as the title says, Birth by Sleep 0.2 Fragmentary Passage, it is the direct sequel to Birth by Sleep. So that was always his intention. It just so happened to got part of this collection to kind of be like the games.
Yeah. I didn't play through the whole game. Cameron did bring it over, and I got to see the ending of it, the last fight, and the where the story ends. And all I can say is that it looks amazing. It plays awesome. It's a little bit of a mixture between Birth by Sleep and Kingdom Hearts 2.
Right.
I would say. It's actually, it strays more on the Birth by Sleep sort of side. And if that's how Kingdom Hearts 3 ends up coming out, I'm cool with that. I had fun. It was
right.
I don't know. Maybe a few more options would have been nice, but again, it was very short. It was 3 hours. Game time was 3 hours.
3 hours exactly, and
Playing.
that included me failing miserably a lot. That included me, because being a veteran of the series, I'm gonna play on the hardest difficulty at all times.
Yeah, you have to.
It's kind of like laughable if you don't play it on the hardest because you know what to expect. If you're a newcomer, by all means, play on easy, play on normal. No one's judging you. But if you've played the game an obscenely, just a sick number of times at this point, like you need help number of times, then you should probably play on the hardest difficulty.
Yep. And by beating Proud, you do unlock critical mode, of course.
You do.
And that was the one I played. Cameron beat the game, and he put it on critical mode, and he's like, here, play it. And I was like, oh, shit.
And it's hard.
It's
hard.
It's not bad. Yeah, it was pretty challenging. It does start you off at level 50, which is interesting. I haven't gone in and looked at any abilities or anything like that. I just kind of played the game.
Yeah.
But it was fun. I jumped around. I murdered lampposts. That was
a lot of lampposts.
I killed a lot of lampposts.
It's kind of cool. So we've always had a journal in Kingdom Hearts games. I think like at least every game does at least mention a journal.
Right.
Just to keep your progress. And there are quests in this game, like additional challenges that you do not need to complete. Objectives.
Yeah.
And as you said, one of them was just destroying lampposts. I mean, just hitting them.
Yeah, it's not really spoiler because it's within the first 10 minutes of the game. You're running down a street, and there's just, like, lampposts everywhere, and then I ran by one, and the little targeting icon came up, and I was like, what the fuck? So I started smacking it, and I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. You smack it a couple times, the targeting reticle goes away, and you can't hit it anymore. No big deal. So then I went to... Oh, shit, you're playing it again.
I actually just wanted to bring up the characters' names.
Oh, okay.
Because I knew if we were going to be talking, I don't want to be stuttering.
Yeah. This is good. I'll probably audio-only podcast. I probably won't add anything. I didn't have a chance to hook it up and, like, do stuff, which is fine. You need to go out and see it yourself anyway.
Please do.
But, yeah, I killed a bunch of lampposts, and I got an objective for it, which is kind of cool. So I killed more lampposts, but I didn't get anything for that. So, I don't know. Kill lamppost. That you should definitely do that.
And, something that's new, that's never been done in Kingdom Hearts game before, customizable options.
Yes!
For your character.
Yes, you can make Aqua your very own waifu.
Waifu, that's the best way to say it. I mean, hell, it's a podcast about Kingdom Hearts. I don't care how weird this gets. Obviously, Aqua's kind of like the staple female of this series. I mean, Kairi's important, but if you like Kairi, that's a little weird. I don't know how old she is.
Yeah.
But Aqua is definitely like,
a mature
female
She's
character.
Like 30 now?
So,
yeah.
Technically, I mean, 10 years in the darkness, I mean, she's definitely aged.
Unless it's like one of those things where it's like, while you're in the darkness, you're just kind of at a standstill.
Yes, that's actually... I'm happy you bring that up. When we were watching the ending cutscene, because I thought what had happened with her maybe potentially coming back to the real world, I thought it might show her aged a little bit. I don't know why I was thinking that. I was thinking because the camera angle really wasn't showing her. Mm-hmm. I thought it was going to look down and you'd see that something would be different about her. But inevitably it wasn't that. But
that's fine. She looks great.
But yeah, so basically just attaching back to the point of customizing your character. Like, it makes sense that it's with her because she's the most, like, you can play around.
Yeah, you can, like, change the colors and stuff. I think, like, her garments, though, the ones on her arms and, like, the ones that wrap around her waist and her legs, like, you can change, like, the pattern on it. Is that what I said? Yeah, you can change the pattern and the color.
She can have wings. Yeah, wings. She can have a crown or a tiara.
Cat ears, because of course you can.
That was kind of where, like, the waifu came from, because I saw, like, or more furry.
The fucking Neko ears, anyway.
But no, really cool, challenging. I mean, I wanted to bring this up too because this was something I would keep on complaining about before this game came out. $60, full retail price.
Yep.
And I'm thinking, all right, so for all of you who might not know, what this game included was a remaster or not really. Well, basically upscale remaster.
A port and remaster of
Dream Drop Distance, which was only available on the 3DS. So unless you're a diehard fan like me who wasted like $140 buying a 3DS, and I'm joking, it's not a waste, but I bought a 3DS and I bought the game, which was $40.
Yeah.
Just to play it. That was my ambition, was to play Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance.
And if you're not a hardcore fan like Cameron, you watched the movie version on YouTube.
There you go. I mean, that's
like
that's completely understandable. I mean, that's one of the things that people complain about with Squares, that they are diverse in their systems, but it makes people have to constantly buy just to play.
Yeah.
So that's completely fine that people have to watch cutscenes a lot of the time on YouTube. But going back to the point with the content itself, the game is well worth the $60. I will say that. Just from itself, just playing through Fragmentary Passage, watching that movie, which we'll discuss in a second, but that movie was amazing.
It really was.
Confusing. Now to know that I can still go back and play Dream Drop Distance, which is probably one of the most astonishing story parts of the game so far, just for what you find out, I think that's well worth it. For newcomers and for people who are, very versed in Kingdom Hearts.
And again, it doesn't take you long to play it, so borrow it from a friend if you have to and play through the 3 hours long that it is.
I encourage that. So that brings up a very good point. If you could just if you're not a huge fan and maybe you do just want to play it just to experience some of it, renting this would be a good game for rent.
Oh yeah, rent
it's really short.
Play through it. Look, rent it. You get a game. You get 2 games.
2 games.
And a movie.
And Dream Drop Distance, if you really pushed it and, played all the way through, you can beat it in less than 20. You can beat that game in, it's really? Shorter.
It's that short.
It's shorter than 2.
I guess it makes sense. 3DS game.
Maybe the length of 1, because 1's not that long. Kingdom Hearts 1. But yeah, it's really not that long. I mean, there's only, 7 worlds.
Yeah.
So, and you revisit, one of them twice. So
right.
It's quite short.
Okay, so that pretty well takes care of the game. Not spoiling too much stuff. It's wonderful. It's amazing. Play it if you get the chance. Definitely. I played for 30 minutes and I enjoyed the hell out of it. But we wanted to watch the movie and stuff tonight too. And boy howdy the movie.
Boy howdy the movie. Now this is definitely spoilers. We are just gonna throw out everything.
We're gonna throw a lot of shit out here. So again,
God, I wish I was taking
notes. Watch it first.
Please.
Again, let me reiterate. Number 1, you're gonna be confused as hell because we're confused as hell and we fucking watched the damn thing. Number 2,
you're better off than us and we watched it.
Number 2, you're not gonna get anything of what we're talking about.
At all.
So, at all. Yeah. I came into this movie expecting answers, and I only got more questions. Which I guess in a way is kind of a fault of the movie. But I don't know. There's just so much that... There was so much new information, but so much incomplete new information.
Right.
That's just left there for you to go... Ponder on and tear your hair out and think, what the hell is going on?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which is Kingdom Hearts in a nutshell.
It kind of is. It really is.
Because it started off.
Thanks, Nomura. Appreciate it.
I love you, bro, but it caused me pain.
10 years, dude? Come on.
That's true. The anniversary of Kingdom Hearts is coming up. That is the whole point of this March game. The game that comes out in March. Which, again, call out to those who want to maybe get into this series. March 28th, I think, somewhere around there. You can literally play all of the games on one disc.
Yep.
If you are, unfortunately, I'm sad to say this though, that is only for PS4. And
of course it is.
It is now only going to be Kingdom Hearts 3 is only probably going to be on PS4.
Yeah, don't remind me.
I'm sorry. I understand. I'm also a Microsoft fan. I have both.
Yeah.
But sadly, they're sticking with Sony. It was too hard to work between 2 consoles. So
yeah. Well, so the movie itself is kind of framed in a kind of whodunit sort of mystery thing.
Keeps you entertained.
It definitely keeps you entertained. It keeps you guessing. And, man, there were definitely some characters that stood out and others that did not. But it's all a mystery, man.
It's a mystery. And speaking of mystery men, I guess that starts with our first kind of character analysis.
Yeah, the first character we see is the typical organization coat. And you think, okay, it must be like a short shot of maybe Xehanort or maybe one of the newer organization members that we're supposed to run into in 3. No, it's, from what I can tell so far, a completely different character.
Completely different. No ties to the Organization 13 whatsoever.
He has the coat. He has some other things that we'll talk about a little bit later that link him to the organization, but I don't think he's an organization member per se. Per se.
So basically, what I could gather from him is that by his title, the Master of Masters,
yes,
he is in charge of this kind of world as it is at the time, which is a world that's very versed with light, and there's no darkness at this time. Well, that's not true. There is darkness. There are Heartless to fight and stuff. But it's kind of all contained. It's controlled with these things called unions, which to give a little backstory into the app that they have, Kingdom Hearts Chained. Really good game for those who have iOS. I mean, it's not a bad one to play through. But basically, there's the unions, and the leader of those unions are called foretellers. The Master of Masters picked individuals to run these unions, and this is the thing that we'll probably talk about in a little bit because it's the most confusing to me. But he had 6 apprentices.
Yes, 6 apprentices,
and 5 of them. There are 5 unions, so there are 5 unions you could pick when you play that app, or what you can pick 1 of 5. But there's also a 6th man.
Yep. The elusive 6th man, who is also dressed up in an organization coat. And, he's sketchy. He has maybe all of 10 lines in the entire movie.
Yep.
Yeah, he's not there very long, he's not there very much, but I kind of feel like he is the most important character, in a way.
Definitely, and the reason we say this is because that we can tell, I think there are 2 big characters that stand out here that have adverse effects. I mean, other than the Master of Masters, there's 2 apprentices that have adverse effects on the Kingdom Hearts that we have played so far. I would make the argument that that would be the mysterious hooded boy and one named Ava. Because she was one who was kind of separated from all of this war, I guess would be the best word for it.
Yeah, and it doesn't really explain. We'll talk about her when we get to her.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to bring her up out of order, but she definitely plays a role with the games that we've played.
Anyway, one thing I would like to note is that the Master of Masters is very, very suspiciously like Braig or Zigbar,
as we commonly know it, or asshole. If you've played Kingdom Hearts.
Dickface. That guy. Yeah. And which is kind of funny because we've kind of had a running joke that Zigbar is the actual leader of Organization 13. Like he's going to betray Xehanort at some point. Because he's so damn charismatic and treacherous. And the Master of Masters, he doesn't have the same voice actor, I don't think. I don't think so. I'm pretty sure he doesn't. But they talk almost the same way.
And mannerisms. That's the thing it gets me.
Mannerisms too. He gesticulates a lot. He fucking uses a lot of very modern kind of phrases and stuff, and he jokes around all the time, even though he's supposed to be the top man of this world. Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, he pretty much created the order of Keyblade wielders. That was something that yeah. So he's basically is described as the person who gave them Keyblades.
Yes.
And tasked them with, doing what they do.
Which they are basically the starting roots of all of that.
Yeah.
Though not mentioned at all by the Keyblade Masters in the current story.
Yeah.
They're not mentioned, so.
So, Our second character that we meet right at the beginning is Ira, who wears a unicorn mask. And basically, Ira's shtick is that he's just super calm, he's level-headed, and he is tasked, which you'll come to find out that all of the foretellers are tasked with a role, a specific role that a specific part that they play in this team of people. Ira, he's like super serious, and the master basically tasks him with becoming the leader of the foretellers because he tells everybody, but at first he tells Ira that he might fade.
I believe the wording was disappear, and then there was another one that he used, and then fade.
Yeah, disappear, dim, and fade.
Dim and which, as kind of a sidebar to Kingdom Hearts 2, words that really pierced us watching this film. Fade typically meant when an organization member disappeared or died, basically.
Where they're like standing there and like all the darkness is coming off of them and then they disappear into nothingness.
But this only happened after like adverse damage, like getting hit or exploded in your innards.
For the Master of Masters, it's basically implied that he literally walks away. Like the scene where it's talking about him fading, he fucking walks away.
Yep.
So he tasks everybody with what they're supposed to do, and he walks away. Also, he drops the bomb, because if you played the other games, you know about the Book of Prophecies.
Yes, this is a good point to bring up.
He gives each of these people, along with their role, he also gives each one of them a copy of the Book of Prophecies. And they all read through it, and on the last page it talks about a war that will come and engulf the world into darkness. A war which we know now is the Keyblade War.
And if you were to play Dream Drop Distance, Xehanort, the series villain, their main villain, quotes the ending words that the Master of Masters utters in the movie.
Yeah.
It's, that darkness will prevail in the end and light will expire. That's basically a synopsis of that phrase.
Yeah. Of course, the Master of Masters being like that, he's like, yeah, fucking light's gonna die, whatevs. And Ira is like, well, we have to stop that. We can't let that happen. And he's like, nah, it's fated to happen. There's no point in fighting it, but if you want to, I guess you can.
And that kind of goes into his character, the Master of Masters, being very just confusing. He's very weird.
He's a master of puppets, I think. And
good song.
As we keep talking about it, I hope you'll agree with us, because he does some weird shit in this movie. And so anyway,
that's basically Ira. He maintains order in the foretellers after the Masters disappeared.
So the next one is Envy. She is described, actually I'm looking at the notes here, she's a virtuous Keyblade Master and leader of the Union Anguis. She holds the Master in high esteem, and her role is to watch over the others with a fair eye.
So basically, I like her a lot. I like her a lot because I study political science. That's one of the things I study at school. And she reminds me of someone who is an advisor.
She kind of does have the advisor role.
She takes action, but she's not the loudest in the room. But she will speak up, and that's what she does. She speaks up at times.
However, she also kind of plays the part of a spy master, which is a bit more kind of weird and kind of scary suspicious in a way. Yeah, so basically she reports everything to Ira. Even whatever the others are doing, she happens to gather that information and reports it to Ira, which is kind of weird. I think, as I'm thinking about it now, as we're talking about it, and we'll talk a bit more about it as we go on, but there's kind of this running idea that all of these people are given a role, and I think every single one of them strays from that role in some ways. Mm-hmm. Like, they misinterpret the meaning of their role, which is really kind of cool when you think about it, because you have these people who have a great amount of power. If you look at it in like a political way, they have almost all the power between these 5 people.
Yeah.
And they're tasked with doing certain things, but because of a phrase that the master utters a lot, they kind of take that role and they basically take that role and they do
be all end all.
Yeah, whatever they think is right, essentially.
Right.
Let your heart
be your guiding key.
Be your guiding key is the phrase that he utters a lot, which basically sounds like to me is like if you think it's right, you do it. And I think as everybody does, everybody has a different opinion of what is right and what is wrong. And I think these people take that and kind of twist their roles a little bit because what they think is right.
Yep.
So she's meant to be a judge to watch over others with a fair eye, which to me, I feel like kind of an observer in the background, kind of mediating through judging everybody equally.
Right.
However, she kind of
sways,
She kind of sways a little bit. I think she favors Ira a bit more because she reports directly to him in ways.
There'll be another character we discuss actually upcoming next, but it's because of his actions that she does start to pick a side, and she's not supposed to.
Yeah, and again, it's another great example of he was given this role, and he kind of twists it in a way, I think. Yeah. Although he had a little bit of help twisting his role. But yeah. So that man is Aced.
I love Aced, and the thing is, I like how you brought this up, who you relate to in a way, because being an observer. But for me, I'm usually someone who is very quick to respond to situations, and that's basically what Aced is. He is meant to be, as the notes say, he is a fearless Keyblade master and leader of the Union Ursus. So he has the resemblance of a bear mask as the first guy to unicorn, and you might have mentioned Snake.
Ira is depicted with a unicorn mask. Invis is depicted with a snake mask, and Aced is depicted with a bear mask.
So though he tends to rely on his physical prowess, he has a pure heart and strong sense of justice. His role that he was assigned to by the Master of Masters is, I would argue, the most the smallest role. It's not really. It's not meant to have a big impact, but it does have a big impact at the same time. It's kind of a paradox.
The way it was described to him by the Master of Masters is very ambiguous. Very manipulative. I think it's very manipulative the way that it was described to him.
His role is to support Ira.
Yes, the new leader.
That is it. It is not to advise or be a fair, interpreter. It's not to lead.
Well, see, you say that, but the Master of Masters is like, Ira is a thinker. That's what he does. He thinks. You are the man who pushes for action. So when he's stuck thinking, you give him a little shove and say, do something, right?
Which I would argue in a real life situation, military leader, any kind of leader, you're going to want someone like that. You're going to want an advisor or someone next to you who does push you.
Yeah, it kicks you in the ass.
Yeah,
it tells you to get shit done. But also, in this same conversation, we find out that Aced is kind of jealous.
Hurt. That's the word. Yeah.
He feels like Ira could be a good leader, but he feels like
why can't I get my
light? Could be a better leader because he's a man of action.
And the movie does a good job of, even when he utters those words, as he says, I think Ira is the best choice, you can tell that he doesn't agree with what he's saying.
Also, great voice acting by Travis Willingham playing Aced, I think.
Yes.
I like Travis Willingham a lot. He's one of my favorite voice actors. But I think he did a really good job playing this character in this way. Oh man, this movie! I'm just thinking of all the things that don't make sense to me. But
so that's basically. I mean, okay. Well, we don't want to give. We're just kind of giving general background information on.
We'll go through the plot here. In a second.
We'll go through the plot in a second.
Yeah.
So the next one is Sweet Ava.
Sweet Ava. So Ava is depicted as wearing a fox mask, and she is definitely the youngest of the Keyblade Masters,
Definitely.
I think, with Gula maybe being a close second.
Right.
But in her backstory, or in her notes, she is described as, despite being a Keyblade Master, she is often treated as a friend by other wielders due to her age, which we do get to see in the movie.
Yep.
And she is the leader of the Union Vulpes, Roman words. Her role is to find exceptional Keyblade wielders, regardless of union, and create her own organization, which is kind of a weird sort of thing, because the Master, one of the things that the Master specifically says is don't combine unions, don't consolidate power.
Mm-hmm. Wants to keep it separated.
Wants to keep it separate. But then again, he tells this person, say, no, you have your own union, that's cool, but what I really want you to do is pick out people from all over the unions and create your own separate organization called
The
Dandelions. Yeah,
is...
based off of a metaphor that the Master uses randomly. And
So, what's really interesting about Ava is that she has this divine kind of approach to always following what the Master says. That's what she wants to do. She doesn't want to disobey her Master.
Yeah.
Something that's important to bring up here that I just thought of is that none of them tell each other the roles. I mean, other than Ira knowing that the role was he would be the leader.
That's a good point. Yeah, it's pretty heavily implied that
at least
they don't explain to each other what their roles are.
Right. So, like, of course, I guess it's like a kind of understanding. It's not like a group understanding. Mm-hmm. So Ira knows that Snake Lady, what's the name? Invis.
Yeah.
Is his advisor, but I don't know if he entirely knows that the Master told her to be that necessarily.
Yeah.
He knows that she is always helping him and being, a good point of justice and such.
Like we said earlier, he kind of uses her as a spy master, essentially.
Master.
Yeah, to report to me what they're doing.
I doubt he knew that Aced was meant to support him at all times. I doubt Aced knew. Aced knew that he was going to be the new master, but of course, they all knew that.
Yeah.
But the point is, no one knew Ava's role, and no one really asks Ava's role. Mm-hmm. That's why she is meant to be, if anything in the story, the person you relate to, because she's the one that's witnessing all of this.
Yes.
And does not know what the heck is going on.
She's never in the middle of the conflict.
Right.
She's always kind of like a third party, kind of in the background a little bit.
And I would argue she gets the most time of scenes where she's with the others. Like, she is definitely with the most.
She definitely gets the
foretellers. Which is very interesting.
I don't know. It's hard to tell whether she gets more screen time or I think Aced might get more screen time.
Basically, when we get more into the plot, I'll just say it for now's sake. Aced is interpreted as the traitor.
Yeah,
out of all of this.
He's the conflicting member of the group, pretty much. Which, anyway, we'll talk about it in a second. But anyway, so that's Ava. She does her own thing. Her mission, apparently, is to... Because they'd all know that this war is coming and that darkness will prevail, like it's very final in a way.
Finite.
Her job is to gather Keyblade wielders and to send them somewhere, a world of dreams. It's described as. It's never really explained, but her job is to keep light alive by doing this.
Which I think is very interesting, because in her case with the Master, he is extremely direct. With everyone else, he was very kind of, would the term be laid back, kind of.
He's very laid back, very nonchalant. He
also appeals to their nature in those conversations.
He really does.
Talks to them the way that they want a master to talk to them. And they're all individuals who have very different views. So he adapts to who he's talking to and makes them feel at ease, makes them feel...
Yeah, he's super manipulative.
I believe every foreteller, I mean, obviously watch it and maybe don't quote me on this 100%, but most of them smile after their conversation with him. They feel, oh, I can do that.
Yeah.
Except for Ava. Ava does not smile. She feels that there is something, maybe not, she doesn't think there's something wrong, but she's kind of trying to understand what is she supposed to do.
Yeah.
Because her job is very hard.
Because like you said, she has a very high esteem of the Master and his rules, And here's the master telling her,
break
the rule that I set for you.
Like, literally, like, probably his number one rule. Like, consolidating, don't consolidate power. He's telling her to literally... And I wanted to bring this up earlier. It left my mind. But
there's a lot of new information in this.
Each foreteller would train Keyblade wielders differently.
Yes.
So not only is she supposed to train her own people in her philosophy, she is then meant to go to other groups and assign them to her Dandelion troop.
Yep.
And that means there'd be very different personalities altogether.
Yeah.
So she truly is... I mean, Ira has a hard job being like the overall foreteller leader. That's not easy. But Ava has to be a leader and appeal to all of these people. Like literally, from just eye point view, there's at least like 50 Dandelions that she has.
Oh yeah, there's a scene where she's talking to all of them, and they're a small army of Keyblade.
They're a small army, yeah, and they're the most skilled of the unions.
That's the thing too, is like they're the elite.
Which, my God, if you have played the app, there are some people there and on that thing nonstop. So I kind of understand where the Dandelions come from.
Oh, they're the whales, the ones that just shell out money for it. Yeah. Anyway,
but yeah, we'll move on to the next character.
Gula.
He is, wow. Talk about, like, you have a general understanding with most of these characters, right?
Yeah.
Ira's the calm thinker, Ased's kind of like the emotional, justice-induced one.
Yeah.
Gula just throws the whole thing off and just, like, he does his own thing. He's just kind of different.
Yeah, he's kind of...
immature.
He's very secretive. I would say he's a little bit of a mixture of everybody.
Okay.
He's very calm and very logical. He's very intelligent. He's kind of a thinker like Ira. At the same time, he's kind of secretive and keeps himself to himself.
Yeah.
Gathering information like Invis. He's young and kind of...
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I see what you mean. He is all of their good qualities, essentially.
He believes very strongly about his role and what he's meant to do. Like I said, he kind of fanatically
embraces it and overlooks friends and
overlooks things, in the process.
Which is maybe what the master wanted.
Maybe. I think fucking the master.
But like Chris said, prefers to keep his distance. And doesn't, this is probably the biggest thing, doesn't regard them as comrades.
Yeah.
None of them.
Even
Ava, which is like probably his best friend, because they're almost the same age.
Yeah.
He's a little older than her, I would say, but now let's get to the shit with his role, which basically opens up the worms on everything here.
Yep.
Basically, we've been telling this in order that we think would make sense with explaining each character. But the movie doesn't do that. The movie takes you through kind of like the plot, but then goes back and shows you each person's case as it plays out.
So there's what's called a case, and it literally says the case of whoever
the master.
And it's a one-on-one talk between them and the master, in which the master tells them their role and their purpose.
Right.
Which is super shady as fuck. Super fucking shady, especially for Gula. Gula's probably the shadiest shit. And no, I take it back. Lux. No, not Lux. Lucia. That's his name.
Lucia is sketchy.
Lucia, something like that.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's like they all... Yeah.
Lux with a U or an A on the end of it, something like that.
And he's forgotten about. Like, that's a weird thing with him. But yeah, Gula, I mean, his role, he walks up into the master's study, and the master tells him, hey, there's going to be a traitor in this group at some point.
Yeah, at some point there's going to be a traitor.
Someone's going to get overzealous. Someone's going to get their job, take it too seriously. They're going to step out of bounds,
Yep.
Funny thing, did he tie necessarily a traitor to falling to darkness? I didn't really catch if he said that.
Okay, yeah. So we'll talk about that here in a little bit. It's kind of one of the plot devices that they use, which never really got explored.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll talk about the plot here in a second. But basically, the master says, at some point there is going to be a traitor amongst us. And what he does is he takes his book of prophecies and he rips a page out of it. And he hands the page to Gula. And that page contains the information that there's going to be a traitor. And that page isn't in any of the other books that have been given to the foretellers.
So that's already, like, setting him up for failure almost.
Yeah.
Because
He sets them up for failure. He does. The master does it. I'm convinced of it. And we'll talk about why I think so in a little bit. But, yeah, he gives them this page, and he says, you're the only person who has this page. You're the only person who knows about the traitor. Your role is to find out who the traitor is and to solve the mysteries of the Book of Prophecies, the rest of the Book of Prophecies.
Right, which is really interesting because the master knows how the book is going to end because he foretold all of this. He has the eye to gaze into the future.
Oh God, don't even get me started on the eye. Okay.
So Gula is set up, like I said, set up for failure. How are you supposed to work in a sense a democracy where you all communicate with one another, but then also be distant and kind of figure out who the bad guy is? You know?
Yeah, exactly.
It's hard. I mean, how do you live your life in that kind of situation? It's not fair. But we kind of breezed over.
Last but not least, Luxu. It's with a U. So Luxu. That's Luxu, and they just kind of instead.
I just kind of want to look over. Okay. So.
Yeah.
He has an X in his name. Which is
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, which is very interesting, and I can only guess is the first of his kind to do so.
Which
Unless the master has an X in his name, which we don't know. Which there's the box.
I'm gonna throw this out there because I noticed this at the beginning and it was really confusing me. I kind of want to go back and watch it just to be sure.
Yeah, we definitely have to watch it again.
There is a potion at the very beginning that I want to believe has his name on it. I don't think it was just Lux. I don't think it was just Lux. I think there was 4 letters on it.
Lux being, I think you said the experience
points
in the game.
How you get stronger.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to throw this out there. I'm not entirely sure. There's been weirder things in Kingdom Hearts. I think he's man-made. I don't think he's a human. I think he is created.
Well, like a homunculi?
Homunculi.
Oh, shit.
I think he was created. I think he's on that potion bottle because it implies that he was man-made. No one talks about him. He's never at meetings. But we'll get into that in a second.
They do talk about him.
A little bit, yeah.
So his story is by far the most interesting.
I mean, it's like the shortest. There's
it's
no
definitely
extra
the shortest.
page.
He definitely has the least amount of screen time.
Yeah.
So he shows up. He's dressed exactly like the Master of Masters in the organization. He has like no personality because again he has like 10 lines in the whole thing.
Yep.
And they're usually like questions, and the master is mostly talking to him and telling him what he needs to do. And what the master gives him, because he doesn't get a book of prophecy. He's not good enough for that shit. But what he does get is a very familiar Keyblade.
Extremely familiar
Keyblade. I may post a picture of it so you can see it. And a black box, which has been confounding us ever since we found out about it, because we don't know what the fuck it is.
I hate that box. Like, how long ago did that trailer come out? Like 4 months ago? 5 months ago? I have been pondering in my mind.
Yeah.
What is this box?
I don't know what this box is, but
What is this box?
His story, I guess we can talk about it, because his story is he takes the box, he drags it out into the wasteland that will eventually become the Keyblade Graveyard.
Keyblade Graveyard, yep.
And he is wielding the Keyblade, which the master tells him to train apprentices and pass the Keyblade down to the next apprentice.
Lineage.
That Keyblade just so happens to be the Keyblade that Xehanort has right now, with the eye in it. And we learn from the Master of Masters that the eye is actually his eye, the Master of Masters' eyes, so that he can see through the future. And then the dude's like, well, okay, well, that's cool, but what's in the box? And he's like, nah, I'm not going to tell you. Nah, I'll go ahead and tell you. And then he whispers into his ear, like, the most infuriating thing, because I want to know so bad what that goddamn box is.
I'm just going to throw it out there. That box is probably, like, the biggest plot point of the entire series.
Probably.
I'm just going to throw it out.
I have a theory about it.
would love to hear it at some point.
But we'll talk about that at the end, because it's at the end of the movie, essentially, when it really comes into play. But yeah, his story is he drags the box into the wasteland, and we get like one little shot of him and this holding the Keyblade with the Master's eye in it, and that's it.
Yeah.
His story's done at that point in the movie.
Yep.
So.
And then I guess we can mention briefly. I guess we can just mention them.
The Chirithy? Yeah, so...
Those who have either played Dream Drop Distance or, this might be your first time seeing them as well if you haven't played the app before. They're meant to be the guidance counselors of Keyblade wielders. And I can give a little more background that you don't see in the movie from the app. They basically are kind of like your... distributor of quests in a way. They're kind of like your, like I said, guidance counselor. They talk to you about things. Okay, if there are, people over here, we want to go help them. We can. Or, and I'm being seriously, this is kind of the idea that they start to get in their heads. Or you could not help them. Or you could steal from them. Or you could do this. I'm going to let you decide.
So they're like your inner conscience. Like
they're your inner conscience.
The angel and the devil on your shoulder. Like, you could be good, or you could be bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's really up to you.
In the game, they definitely start off very neutral, as you would. As a new Keyblade wielder, you would start off like, yeah, let's get questing, let's get Lux, let's help people out. But as you get more powerful and more experienced, and what I noticed, at least from little clippets of the story, which I guess we can mention that real quick, the very beginning is like a compilation of the game's cutscenes, I guess, in a way. The very intro. That plays before the movie begins. It plays like a slideshow of
2 or 3 minutes. Then it's got text all over the screen. It goes so fast. It's super difficult to read. You'd have to pause it to read it all. I think it says some interesting stuff. Basically, it kind of gives a background of the story. It talks about the Master of Master. He chooses 6 apprentices, 5 of which he gives the Book of Prophecies.
And a Keyblade. Well, they all get Keyblades, but they get their own specific one.
Yeah, Lushu just happens to get the Keyblade, the fucking evil Xehanort Keyblade thing with the eye in it.
But yeah, basically, Chirithy, they eventually start to think, not for themselves, but give you options. They don't want you to just follow a certain set of rules. Because I believe they go off of your heart, what you're thinking.
Yeah.
So.
And that's how they're described, too, is when a Keyblade wielder falls to darkness, their Chirithy becomes what's called a nightmare. Which is basically what you fight in Dream Drop Distance.
Yep.
The nightmares, the dream eaters, and then the evil nightmare things.
Mm-hmm.
And they even have the same crest on their back.
That's what I never kind of completed thought, is that you see on the back, and it's never directly mentioned in the movie, but on the first Chirithy's back is the symbol of a dream eater.
Yeah.
And they are the things that essentially help you finish Dream Drop Distance, because you need their help in that game.
Yeah.
To do anything. So I think that's interesting that they were literally created, again, as I mentioned with Lushu a little bit, by this master, in a way, in a laboratory setting of all this scientific stuff. Which,
the first one we see is in a test tube bottle sort of thing.
Test tube baby. Literally. It's a test tube baby.
Fucking weird.
Which, I mean, this is just a side note, but
so much information in this movie.
There is. I mean, it's a podcast, so we can kind of just talk.
Yeah, we've been going 50 minutes.
But basically, Kingdom Hearts has always dabbled with the idea of being a scientist, in a way. Like, the first game talks about experimenting with Heartless.
Yep, and Anthem, who we now know as Terranort
and all that, which I don't even want to get into that shit, which that could take 5 other podcasts just to explain who that person is.
Oh, man. We'll talk about it when we play the game.
Basically, science in the game is kind of asserted to the idea of questioning things. And I think that's what the Master of Masters, in a way, kind of does, in a way. Even though he has this prophecy that he knows will happen, he kind of sets up almost like each individual foretellers are experiments. Mm-hmm. I think he's just kind of throwing them out there and saying, do as you will. Because he's kind of a scientist in himself.
Yeah. So, let's do a brief synopsis of the plot.
Very brief.
We'll try to keep it as brief as possible. There's a lot of information to go through. So, the first part starts off with the Master of Masters kind of looking off into the distance. Ira walking up, and basically the Master saying, "There's going to be a war soon. It's unavoidable. Don't try to avoid it, or you're going to cause trouble."
Yeah.
But I guess if you want to try and avoid it, you can. Sure, why not? And then from there, we go to a scene where they're all sitting around a table, and they bring up the Chirithy thing, and they're like, when a Keyblade falls to darkness, they turn into a nightmare. Short while later, same room, they're all sitting around the table, and they bring out a nightmare.
Yep.
A nightmare. So they're like, okay, we have a traitor amongst us. That's the first time they find out about the traitor. Of course, we know from what we've talked about earlier, Gula knew about it the whole time, and he didn't say anything. Fucking communication is terrible in this little family of weirdos here.
The reason they know there's a traitor is because one of the sheriffs became a nightmare.
Yeah.
Which, as we know, is I kind of elaborated a little bit on, is that if you do evil actions, you become it becomes a nightmare. It follows your actions.
Yeah. So
it talks a little bit about like the equipment that they have that gathers.
Oh yeah,
darkness.
bangles. Yeah.
I have no utter clue what that was referencing in the game. I never got that. So
if you got that far in the game, let us know because I'm very interested.
I have no idea. No one in Kingdom Hearts has had a bangle. I mean, you had equipment,
like accessories in the game.
Accessories, but you haven't had one that like absorbs darkness.
Yeah, it was a very specific function from what we could tell,
and was assigned to their Keyblade wielders by them, the foretellers. It was allowed to be used by their guidance.
Yeah. So they learn about this traitor, and they start discussing ways where they can find the traitor out and stop them.
Right.
But nobody can tell who the traitor is, and they're all friends. They all want to believe that none of them are traitors.
But they all inevitably know that one of them has to be.
Yeah.
So Aced kind of takes a very emotional first front approach of I am not the traitor, which immediately would kind of set you apart as, well, maybe he's the traitor because he spoke up. And
he's definitely the first one that you begin to suspect because of his actions. And he basically goes behind the leader's back, and he's like, he speaks to Gula and he speaks to Ava, and he's like, okay, guys, we have a traitor amongst us, and darkness is growing, and it's going to be doing something. We need to team up and figure out what the hell is going on and stop it. Which, again, Master said, do not consolidate your power. Do not bring your unions together.
And Ava makes that clear.
And Ava makes that very clear. She's not a part
I'm not being part of this. But little do you know, and this is interesting to bring up, you don't know what Gula's purpose is.
Yeah, at this point. It hasn't happened yet.
But he automatically accepts the offer to be part of this alliance because he's trying to fill that role.
Yeah.
Aced's not my friend. He's not my comrade. Yes. I'm going to get close to him and see what his intentions are.
Yeah, see if he's the traitor, because that is his purpose, is to find the traitor. So, they talk it out. Gula does decide to join him, except he will not allow his union to take part in this alliance. He himself.
Because they all have to remember that they have that separate purpose, is to train and prepare other Keyblade wielders for battle and such.
Yeah, so then Envy drops by, because she was also brought to this party.
Which I'll bring in real quick, because this happened during the assembly scene.
Yeah.
Ira mentions to her, basically, there's a missing page, he says.
Oh, that's right.
He says a page is missing from our books, or at least mine. And she's like, okay, that makes sense. I'm missing a page too.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, surely whoever has
the missing page is the traitor.
And this is Ira's calm thinking coming into play. He doesn't want to point fingers. He doesn't want to believe that anyone's a traitor.
Yeah.
But in his mind, that would be the inevitable, like, that is the traitor.
That
like,
is the traitor.
There's no questioning it. So she goes into this kind of assembly, or this alliance discussion, probably thinking about what Ira said.
Yes.
Considering it.
Yeah, so she goes in, and Aced brings up the idea to her, and she's like, no, the master told us not to do that, kind of reiterating what Ava said.
Which, in her notes, it said that she was also a huge, believer in the master.
Yeah,
That's
she also holds
the
master. It specifically says that she holds the master in high esteem.
Yeah.
And she is supposed to be the mediator, the judge.
Yeah.
So she doesn't follow the rules. Who's going to follow the rules if the judge doesn't follow the rules?
Exactly.
But, so she flat out pretty much denies it and tells him that
kind of gets a little bit, I'm going to tell Ira, in a way.
And she does.
She does.
She does. He immediately goes in and tells
Aced, being emotional, fires back and says, well, what do you expect us to do?
Yeah.
Because you always go to Ira and report. If your purpose is to be someone who steps back and gives guidance, it does not mean that you have to report all of our actions to Ira all the time.
Yeah. Well, again, they don't tell each other their roles.
Right.
So they don't know.
They don't know. So Aced just kind of assumes that all she does is talk to...
Yeah. He's trying to come up with this alliance, and she's refusing, and she's passing on this information to Ira, and he's basically like, well, how do we know that you and Ira are already in an alliance?
Which I will bring into the idea that he's probably jealous of Ira, which is why he's kind of attacking Ira. In
jealous of Ira. That's definitely his character.
He wants Ira to be a fault and a leader, and assume that he would only pick one to be his advisor.
Right. Well, one of the things that we'll get to here in a second is the master told him that when Ira seems to him to not be the correct leader, the master tells him, well, maybe that's your turn to step up.
Very good point.
So basically tells him, like, if you think Ira's not being a good leader, take his place.
And this is his attempt.
And this is kind of his attempt to do so.
So that kind of falls through.
Yeah.
To decide no. And then Gula's like, sure, let's be friends. Right?
Yeah. So then it kind of goes to it comes back to Ava. Yeah, it comes back to Ava after the alliance talk, and Ava, she's sitting at this well and she's kind of like thinking about how everything is kind of falling to shit.
Yeah,
we have this big war that's coming up that they can't stop apparently, but they're trying to, and it's only leading to more issues. And they've got this traitor situation.
And the problem is everyone's taking into their own hands, and she doesn't know why everyone is, because they're kind of forgetting what she too wants to follow the master's words.
Yeah. But
everyone, in a way, not that it's completely known, but she assumes that everyone's kind of doing their own thing to figure it out.
Yeah, she even talks. So one of the Keyblade wielder kids, I call him a kid. He looks like maybe
Sora's
13.
Age? Yeah,
maybe I would say a lot younger.
A lot younger, maybe.
A lot younger than what Sora is now. But he shows up, and they have a very brief discussion about things. And this kid kind of rings some warning bells for me.
Same.
Yeah, so
his dress, his appearance, it's very
the white hair.
Xehanort-esque.
It's the white hair. It makes me very... That and what he says in this conversation makes me very suspicious of him. But they talk about these things, and he basically brings up the question of, she says that he had once asked her why the unions don't work together.
Why don't they? Yeah.
She basically says, I honestly don't know, but that's what the master says, so that's what we do.
And foretellers are meant to be very sure of themselves as leaders. And this is kind of her kind of faulting a little bit in her own beliefs. It's like, well, why do we?
She's definitely the least confident as far as a foreteller goes.
Which is understandable given her age, too.
Yeah.
I mean, she's got such a hard job.
But anyway, during this line of questioning, the kid slyly states, well, what about the Book of Prophecy? Why don't we talk about the Book of Prophecy? And she's like, no, we're not going to talk about the Book of Prophecy.
That's like the one private thing.
Yeah, and she's like, why would you ask that? And he's like, I'm just kidding. Warning bells are ringing in my head, which is really unfortunate because he walks out of the shot, and that's it. He doesn't appear in the movie anymore.
That's interesting to bring up, too. He's not a dandelion at the end. he's not like an experienced Keyblade wielder by any
From
sort.
what we can tell.
He really, and he appears in the game. Y'all who have played the app probably know him. He is part of the story in the game. But from what I can tell, he's not meant to be any stronger or weaker. He's just kind of, there.
I feel very strongly that he is. I don't know. He's
something.
He trips me off. If you know something else that you've played more of the game, and maybe he comes across a little bit better in the game, but let me know, because he seems shady to me.
I don't think he dies in the Keyblade War, is what I would assume it is.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. I think he's one of those who would continue to go on.
His only other thing is that he's described as deciding to discover the mysteries of the world himself.
Himself.
Whatever that means.
Xehanort also kind of did that in a way.
Yeah.
So we're not necessarily saying he's connected to Xehanort. We're just kind of saying that he's sketchy.
Yeah. So the next scene is basically just Invis going to Ira and then explaining, look, Aced is trying to create an alliance, and I don't think she knows. No, I think she does know that Gula actually does accept the alliance. So she informs him of that.
And he's like, well, I'm going to go squish this bug. I'm going to go sort this out. And she says,
no, let me handle it.
Because Aced will literally try and fight you over this if you piss him off.
And he would have, I think.
He would have.
Because he's very jealous and he's very cocksure.
I want to know, if we're kind of going into like discussion and speculating, I don't know how that fight would have gone. You really don't even see Ira fight.
You don't really see any of them fight.
You don't really see any of them at their full power. You see the
snippets,
and you see the aftermath.
Yeah.
But if we're to assume that Ira is the strongest, I guess you could say, because of his leadership, I don't know how that fight would have gone. That would have been scary.
I don't know. Yeah, it's very strange. We don't really get a good
range of
inkling of what their capabilities are as far as fighters, Keyblade masters.
And then she also says to him that she will no longer be consistently reporting to him.
Oh, right, because
for the sake of transparency between all.
Right. So she kind of plays the good guy here, and she's like, well, they expect us of being in an alliance, and in order to not give off the right idea, because we're trying to dissuade them from creating an alliance, I will not report to you quite as much, which is good. I think it was in line with her role a bit more than a lot of the other things that she's done. Yeah.
Or she got more, not that she forgot, she got pulled into the leader. Yeah. And that's...
So the next scene after that is Aced talking with the Master, and the Master telling him basically what we said earlier, where if you don't... Ira is going to be the leader, but if there's ever a time when you think that he's not going to be a good leader anymore, you should step up and take that position for yourself.
Which further fuels his ambition for this alliance.
Yes. So he ends up...
the fated clash.
It's not explained why. There's no lead up to it, but as soon as that scene ends with him and the Master, the next scene is him, Aced, and Invis fighting.
Right.
Yeah, and...
Because, I think there is something that happens... Basically, no, there is something that we did forget, because it's basically Gula comes in and says, I'm calling this alliance
that's right.
off.
Yeah, he's like...
I've decided after a few months, because a few months passes at this time.
Months pass.
The darkness isn't any closer to coming, and, Gula's probably thinking, I don't even know if you're a traitor anymore.
Yeah.
I don't have any interest in this, is what he's thinking in his head, but he doesn't say that. And Aced is obviously like, what do you mean it's coming? We know it's happening. Why would you falter now? And he mentions, the name of one of
that's
their
right.
comrades.
Invis. He asked her if Invis was the one who dissuaded him from keeping up the alliance, and Gula says, well, maybe, but I'm the one who decided it. And that's what kicked it off.
Which is pretty mature for him to say that. I mean, she counseled me, but I decided to do this.
Yeah.
And that just sets Aced on a whole new level of pissed off. He is just...
Yep.
I'm going to go deal with her right now. He probably knows he could overpower her in a one-on-one fight, so he's just set on fighting her. He's like,
he pretty muchly does.
Basically.
It's pretty even, although he's getting closer. And then in the middle of their fight,
gets into the fight, I guess.
well, Gula kind of just sits there and watches for a little bit, which is
really
really shady.
Because now he's trying to see if Envis is bad too.
But then as soon as Ava shows up, he chooses a side. He chooses to side with Envis, and they all three confront Aced together. And basically, Aced is like, 3 against 1, it's on, and he charges.
And that's it. That's the end of the scene. The next thing you would come into is the case of Gula, which explains his, his deal with finding the traitor.
Yep. So the master gives him the missing page and says, your role is to find the traitor, because you're the only one who knows about it.
Which, in the case of Gula, I think what it does is it shows Gula's conflict at this time. I'm assuming is after this fight's happened.
Yeah.
Where he has the page in front of him and he's like, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
He's thinking back to this case. I think that's what all these cases is that they think back to the discussion.
Yeah. Well, he explains it a little bit later. I forget what the exact wording is, but the prophecy that there's going to be a traitor is literally one sentence, and it's super vague and ambiguous.
And he should not have looked that much into it. He
admits it later on after he makes this mistake that he's about to make. And, yeah, he was like, I should have never have looked so hard into it because it was so ambiguous. He
should have let it be a back kind of thing. Like you kind of, if something were to end up happening, you'd be like, oh yeah, that's my job to squish that. But
so I don't know if you can tell so far through this, but basically nobody is a traitor.
Nope.
Nobody comes across as being a true traitor.
They all have sketchy ways of dealing with it, except for Ava.
Yeah.
But they all have the seriousness of their roles taken a bit.
Yeah. What I think is the master pretty much set them up to fail. He gave them very ambiguous roles and ambiguous instructions and said, that's your duty. Let your heart be your guiding key, and disappears on them. So, anyway, Gula has his moment with the master, and he learns of his role, and which leads us very nicely into the next scene, where he comes in and he confronts a wounded Aced, presumably from his fight with all three of those, Gula, Ava, and Envis. And Gula basically says, I have a missing page that wasn't in anybody else's book of prophecies that told me about the traitor. I've known that there was going to be a traitor, and my role was to find out who the traitor is, and I think it's you. And draws his keyblade and points it at him, and Aced is basically like, you're fucking crazy, and he stands up to fight, and Gula's like, you're barely standing, how are you going to beat me? And Aced's like, you underestimate me, and fucking beats that bitch down.
And something that was kind of like a minor detail during the clash and this scene too, he cries a lot.
He doesn't cry a lot, but
he doesn't cry a lot. He sheds a tear to show that he does not want to be this perceived traitor. He's not trying to be.
And he doesn't really want to fight them.
He truly doesn't.
He's being backed into a corner, and he's fighting for what he thinks is right, what he thinks he has to do in order to protect the world.
A fine sense of justice is his.
Yeah. So anyway, I think Ava comes in. Yeah, Ava comes in.
Ava comes in and protects because he basically shits on.
Yeah, he destroy. We don't even get to see it. We just see it cuts away for a second, and it cuts to Ava coming in, and it cuts back to them, and Gula's on the ground.
Gula was 100% fine. You don't know how their fight went last time, but you definitely know Aced's in a more damaged state.
Yeah.
And Aced wrecks him, KO'd instantly, which just shows his strength, honestly.
Yep. And he's got his keyblade up, and he kind of, comes up for the final blow, and Ava runs in and dives in front of him. And for a second there, he looks like he's actually going to go through with it and take them both out, and then he drops it. He can't do it. He drops it.
and just walks off.
And walks away. Yeah, he walks off.
Because he says to Ava, that's how it is. He basically implies, like, that's how it's going to be. You're going to pick him.
Yep. So you're going to... Yeah. Oh, man, it's crazy. Because at this point, Ased is like, you knew about the traitor, and you didn't tell anybody. I don't think he necessarily thinks Gula is the traitor, but he's definitely angry with him about not telling them.
And this kind of shows, though, in the discussion he's about to have with Ira when he walks off.
Yeah, so he walks off wounded. It's raining. The city looks like shit.
Oh, God. Bridges are destroyed.
It's dark. That's the one thing I did notice about, like, the city that they're in. It has progressively gotten darker in lighting, literally darker, ever since, like, the Master has left. But anyway, he's walking through the street. He falls to a knee because he's wounded, and he looks up, and here comes Ira walking towards him. And he's like, if you're going to take me out, do it quickly. And Ira's like, nah, man, I ain't going to do that. Nah, man. So Ased begins to tell Ira about the missing page, and that Gula was the one who had it, and he knew about the traitor the whole time, and he didn't tell anybody about it.
Mm-hmm.
And Ira, which he's never explains why he's so infatuated with the missing page, but he gets tunnel vision.
Yes, I'm happy you say that. That's exactly what happens.
He gets tunnel vision, and he's like, I need to see that missing page.
And I think he's just purely obsessed at this point.
Yeah.
Something that we kind of left out, I guess, just because it's not that big a thing, but the prophecy shows Heartless. It shows...
It does. It shows the shadows.
It shows dark side.
It shows dark side.
It shows what a Heartless probably is and what it does.
Yes.
Swallows up worlds, takes light, takes all that stuff. This guy has been the most... Ira has been the most focused on this book, and months have passed at this time. I believe Ased even says a year had basically gone by since the Master had left.
Yeah,
something.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
That is a lot of reading and rereading and a lot of interpretation. I think this valiant leader has probably lost his way and had a tunnel vision kind of...
And like Gula has said, or he's going to say here in a moment, it's super ambiguous. I mean, we've read it in Kingdom Hearts 2 at the beginning when the Yen said shows you the book and you read a few pages of the book. It doesn't make any sense. It's so open to interpretation. Because
it's just kind of like snippets of future things.
But at the same time, it's assumed that everything in that book is going to happen.
Basically.
And that there's no way to stop it. Because the Master has warned him, don't try to stop it. They've tried to stop it, and things have gone very poorly.
So in a way, he sets them up for failure, but he did always let them know.
Yeah.
Why, even if you're foretellers, are 5 people going to change the future?
That's literally his line. He's like, you think 5 people are going to save the world? Are you kidding me? That's not even... No, that's not going to happen.
He might not be far off, because I think how Xehanort's going to be defeated, I think it's going to be about 7 people. Probably.
Maybe 7. There's so many number things in this series that are
13 darkness and
13 darkness, 7 lights. Now he does mention them as a whole. He refers to their whole group as 7.
That's a very good point.
That's it's one of his first lines in the show, because he's talking to Lucia, one of the very few scenes with Lucia in it. And he's like, you're 6, which makes me 7. Unless you don't think I count.
Yeah.
And he literally says that because that's his very weird personality. But
maybe that implies, because let's not forget, Xehanort is working from the Book of Prophecy. That is what his ambition, everything he does, is because he wants to forge this Keyblade that happens to only be formed from 13 darknesses, 13 organization members, fighting 7 lights. That is his entire purpose. And that would be from the vision that the Master of Masters predicted. So it is no coincidence that he focuses on the number 7.
Yeah.
So much.
Although it's kind of weird. Now that I'm thinking of it, we'll keep the
lore. Plot.
No, not the plot. The talking about the discussion, conniving. Man, I'm thinking like all the other words, but the word that we need to.
Is it like the next part or like?
No, discussion of what we think might be going on.
Oh, prediction.
Prediction.
Kind of. Yeah. I got you.
So. Anyway, moving on. The next scene of the movie is, oh gosh, it's called An Inevitable End, which is awful. So
it's Ava's last ditch effort to appeal to her comrades, basically.
Yeah.
In a sense.
So
because Ased's kind of gone off screen at this point. He's not there.
He's
fine because Ira let him be.
Yeah.
But he's kind of done. Like.
Yeah.
He's
although one thing that I do want to mention is that after Ira says, "No, I'm not going to kill you," and after he learns about the page, he kind of forgives him in a way. He's like, "No, you're fine. Just kind of stand back for a second."
Yeah.
And I think he has a realization. I think one of the few complete character arcs in this story is that this is why Ira is the leader, because I'm too hot-headed. He says that, leave it to you to be the good guy after all we've been through to let me go. Because everybody else thinks I'm a traitor.
Yep, all of them.
So Ira allows him to be on his way, I guess. I don't know. He doesn't do anything.
He doesn't think... He is so tunnel vision right now. He wants that page. That's all he wants.
Yeah.
I don't even know if he planned on executing Gula right then and there.
I don't think he did it either.
He just wants the page. That's all he wants.
So Gula being wounded in his fight with Ased, he is hiding somewhere with Ava. Ava's trying to take care of him. And one of the little Cherokee dudes comes up.
This happens in a what's the word? She's explaining this to Everett. What's the snake again? I keep forgetting the name.
Invis.
She is telling her this because at this point, Gula had, what we're about to tell you has already happened. So she's explaining in a flashback to her what happened in the discussion.
And Invis even brings up at this point, because they're talking about all this stuff, and they're talking about like the Alliance, I think, and bringing unions together. And Invis accuses her, is like, "Why have you've been gathering these Keyblade wielders and bringing them into your own organization?" Mm-hmm. And Ava is like, "That's what I was told to do. That's what the master told me to do." And Invis immediately backs down. She's like, "Oh, I had no idea. I'm sorry." Yeah. Again. If they had told each other everything, a lot of this heartache could have been avoided.
Yep.
But anyway, so in the flashback, Gula's hurt. She's kind of taking care of him. This little Cherokee dude comes up, and they said, Ira's coming. He's headed straight here. And Ava's like, oh god, if he comes, he's probably going to kill Gula. That's what she's thinking. So she runs off to talk to Ira, and she tells Ira that he's gone. He's left. She doesn't know where he is, or she will not tell him where he's gone.
Yeah.
And Ira basically goes, "Okay," and then I understand your decision, and he turns around and walks away, which is, I think, really again plays to the strength of Ira's character that he really is the best leader, because even with his like extreme tunnel vision for that lost page, as soon as Ava sticks up for him and won't give him the information, he's like, I get it. You're just trying to help your friend, essentially, and turns around and walks away.
And that's basically it for him.
That's it. He's done.
Walks. He's off stage. He's done his part. We do not know what even his intention is going up into the Keyblade War. We're about to find out what the others' intentions are.
Yeah.
But we do not know what Ira planned on doing at this point.
So Ava goes back to the wounded Gula, and Gula basically says...
He says the thing that basically sets the war in motion.
Yeah, well, he's sitting there and he's like, the passage that said that there was a traitor was just so ambiguous. I don't understand why I looked so far into it. And he basically decides to leave and go off on his own and summon Kingdom Hearts,
which takes lux. It takes an extreme amount of lux to accomplish, because when you think about it, and it goes back to the 13 dark and 7 lights, there's obviously going to be a lot of forces enacting there.
Uh-huh.
It probably just takes a lot of power. As we've noticed with previous formings of Kingdom Hearts before, from like the first game and the second game, it takes a mass collection, and there are, not to get too complicated, but there are kind of like different Kingdom Hearts in a way. The second game's Kingdom Heart was meant to be one of the like restoration, like restoring hearts per se, which would take gathering a lot of hearts to accomplish. The first one's kind of like to gain power. That was what Ansem wanted to do.
Yep.
So it's almost as if Kingdom Hearts itself, in its entirety, is the philosophy of may your heart be your guiding key. Kingdom Hearts is what you want it to be, is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
So for Gula, he wants Kingdom Hearts to be his way of getting the Master of Masters back.
Yes. So like we've stated, the Master has disappeared on them.
Faded.
He's gone.
Like gone.
Faded, dimmed.
Disappeared, dimmed, faded.
Well, something like that. Those adjectives. But oh man, he is a
bad man.
Yeah. So I know that we put a lot of emphasis on the leader's rule to never bring the unions together, but as soon as Ava hears that he's planning on summoning Kingdom Hearts to bring him back, she's like, no, you really shouldn't do that. That's like the big taboo of everything, to summon Kingdom Hearts. And he's like, that's the only way to get the Master back. That's the only way he can think to get him back, is to summon Kingdom Hearts. So they have this discussion, and he goes away, and he's off screen for the rest of the movie.
So at that point, Ava, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's her. It goes to the scene where she talked to the Master, and the Master was very direct with her, the most out of everyone else, and says, when this goes down, when the war inevitably happens and darkness has prevailed, there needs to be light.
Yep.
There needs to be people who have been trained here who are still out in that world.
Yep.
I want you to form an organization, as he says, and she picks the name Dandelions.
Another name which immediately caused alarm bells ringing in my head is organization.
Because, exactly. The 13 Darknesses are literally meant to be a government of 13 pieces of Xehanort's heart, which are all bad. They are all bells ringing like these people are not good.
Yeah.
Though I will bring up, and this is for another day, obviously, not everyone wants to be part of that. It's kind of forced upon them sometimes. But essentially that would be the case. So with Ava, she's meant to make a team that will not be involved in the war. So I'll let you kind of take off.
Yeah, so, and one of the other things the Master specifically says is, like, when this happens, and it is going to happen, sit it out. Don't fight. Take this organization that you've created and bring them to the world of dreams.
Right, which we have no clue what that is.
We have no fucking clue. There's no other context besides that.
We know, and I'm only guessing here, because Dream Drop Distance is confusing enough, that is kind of meant to be a sleeping state world, but I wouldn't call it a world of dreams necessarily. So I have no idea what he was referencing with that. Dream Drop's the closest thing to a dream world.
Yeah, it's... And I don't know, all the other stuff about, like, the Dream Eaters and the Chithuri and the Nightmares. All that. So anyway, so the scene goes on to show her in front of her organization called Dandelion, and she's basically giving them a pep talk saying, there's a war that's going to happen, but when it does, we're going to bamf out of here. And we're going to ensure that the light survives. Maybe, I just thought of this, there was that thing, I don't remember which Kingdom Hearts it was, you brought it up a little bit ago about children's hearts.
Yes.
What would you call those people? Those are
children.
Not teenagers, those are children.
Yeah.
They're very young. Well, I don't know. It's
Japanese I believe the
people.
First game at some point, very early on, explains that the hearts of worlds from the children restored the world to what it was. Because it fell to darkness. When Kingdom Hearts was lost into darkness, which I assume is what happens from Gula and then summoning it the first time.
Yeah.
brought about that, and the lights of these individuals probably saved the world, is what I'm assuming. Because as we know, I mean, Sora, he's not born yet, of course, but when he is, he has a strong light, and he saves Ventus because of it.
Yeah.
So kids really are the strength in this game.
Yeah.
Like, little, tiny people that might have powers, might not have powers, are powerful in their own right.
So, just play the Pillows' Little Busters in here. When the kids think of the future. Anyway, so the next scene, if you'll go down to the next one there for me. So
Yes.
I can remember. Okay.
The fated final
case of the Master of Masters and his apprentice Lucio. And the Master giving him the Keyblade and showing him the box. And then whispering into Lucio's ear what the box is. And when he does so, it very obviously kind of disturbs him a little bit. He kind of jumps a little bit. He's like, why? That's what he says. Not what. Not anything else. Specifically, why? And the Master, and probably the most insidious line that he ever has in this show is, "You'll see."
Like, that just kind of, it shows that he's not good. That last comment just shows that he's not good at all.
I mean, at this point, we've talked about, he kind of sets everybody up to fail. He's like the fucking puppet master, pulling all the strings in the background. Like, he knows what motivates these people, and he's twisting their sense of right and wrong by assigning them these roles and giving them specific tasks, but also giving it to them in a very ambiguous way.
Where they'll misinterpret it on purpose.
Exactly, and even giving them misleading information or, like, leading them on. Like, in the Ced's case, he's like, if Ira's not a good leader, fucking take the mantle from him.
If anything, he's the traitor.
I think he is the traitor. He is the fabled traitor. And
is it a traitor who's meant to return at some point?
I can only imagine he's got to return in some case or another.
That, and like, I don't know if we're at the prediction stage yet, but I'll let us finish the last part, and then we'll kind of close on, because you have a prediction too.
I do have a prediction about the box, but so anyway, he gives him.
And the second last one's called Heart and a Key, which
well, the last one is credits. The last one's credits.
Yeah,
this is the last scene, but yeah, he gives him the Keyblade, and the Keyblade has the eye in it, which I think everybody's called the Eye of Xehanort. Well, we find out that it's actually the Master's eye, so that he can, in his words, see through the future.
Yep.
So his charge to Lucio is to take the box, take the Keyblade,
and remain extremely distant from everyone else.
Yes, go on his own, be alone, train an apprentice, and pass the Keyblade down to his apprentice, so that apprentice will also pass the Keyblade down to his apprentice, and so on,
Which,
so forth, so forth. From
the Kingdom Hearts 3 trailer, we know that Keyblade sits on top of a door frame, above the lintel of a door. A lintel is that little bar thing. Sits above that door, and means it has been passed down through the lineages, as he said.
Yep.
To a young Xehanort who stares up at that Keyblade and wonders, is that what I need?
Yeah.
To do so.
So he eventually it does come into the hands of Xehanort.
Yes.
Yeah. Although young Xehanort, his Keyblade is different. It still has the eye motif.
Now, that's the weirdest thing about young Xehanort, is because you see him in Dream Drop Distance with his manipulating time kind of Keyblade.
Yes.
Because he's not supposed to be there. That whole game is kind of like taboo in itself, because none of that's supposed to be able to happen. It's just that Xehanort is arguably the most... Like, Xehanort might have as much foresight as the Master of Masters, because he figures out how to traverse time through making sure that a part of you is in the time that you're going to, and that you can travel between time and make them have gatherings.
Yep.
He is crazy smart.
Which brilliantly segues into my theory what's in the box is the Master of Masters' heart. So not only does he have his eye who can see through time, he himself can move through time because his heart is in that box.
Yep, and this is also a good time to bring up a thing that I cannot for the life of me understand what it is. I don't know if it's his name. I don't know if it's meant to be...
I can only imagine that
a breaking of the seal or something. But basically, the final frame of this whole dealio, this whole hour of just heart-wrenching confusion is...
Oh my gosh, it's so hard. It's like... You get... It kind of pans around so you can see the top of the box. There's a name engraved on the top of it.
It literally says Expect. I'm gonna Exupex, I guess, is the best way to pronounce that.
Exupex, something.
Exupex.
Like that. Yeah. I don't know. It's hard to see.
Weird, because we all know that X's are not just conveniently used in Kingdom Hearts. They're usually part of being a nobody, and your name anagram of your name is infused with an X to make you.
So I'm thinking identity. This is the beginning of that trend,
where if you die, you have a nobody and a heartless created. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
That's kind of funny. We had the same idea with our predictions.
Is the heart being in the box?
Especially because it's called Heart and a Key.
Yeah.
Like, literally.
Heart and Key. Yeah, it is. That's the name of the scene.
Like, that might be the, not necessarily, like, the hint, but it kind of is.
Yeah. That
is more than likely his heart.
Yeah, and it would explain, like, his Lucia's worry. It was like, why? Why would you do that?
Lucius is the only one. Lucy is the only one who understands in a way, or doesn't necessarily question, that the master is gonna just kind of die, obviously, from this, or disappear, or fade, or whatever.
Yeah.
If he now has been told that's going to be me in that box, then he understands that's basically a coffin that he's carrying around.
Right.
So.
Oh man, there's just so much in God.
I think it is worth mentioning at the beginning of 0.2, a fragmented passage, kind of bring it all full circle.
Oh yeah, he's there. Like the same scene.
Lusu is standing at a not pre-Keyblade War zone, but a post-Keyblade War.
Yep.
Meaning Kingdom Hearts has already fallen.
Yes.
And I'm assuming Gula's prediction of the Master showing up did not happen, and probably ended in the destruction.
Misery and death.
As the Master probably planned, because the Master is conveniently, as we might be predicting, in a box.
Yes. He's literally in a box.
So, that basically implies that he is still there and foreseeing the events to play out. The Master is living on through the key and the box. More so the key.
Yep, he's seeing through the future and also traveling through the future in this box.
So let us not forget, and I think this brings it a full-blown, like, all the Master needs. Because time is constant, it repeats. The cycle keeps going. The events will play out again throughout time. As the young Xehanort has mentioned in Dream Drop Distance, I will go back to my own time, grow up to be the man that I am, and all the events will take place as it has.
Mm-hmm.
The only difference being, his heart's there. The Master of Masters can travel to whatever time he wants to be in, if he understands that.
That's okay. So this is a really interesting thing that we forgot to mention during his case. Another one of the things that the Master very pointedly points out is you are going to go through time, essentially. Not him himself, but like his role, his legacy is going to go through time. And the proof that he has gone through time and that it has worked is the Book of Prophecy. He's like, this Book of Prophecy, you're done. You've completed your task. You have been successful. So buck up, kiddo. You're gonna go do what you're gonna do, and it's gonna work.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, he I remember him specifically saying that. He's like, He's like, you're going to go off on your own, you're going to do your thing.
Because
but
he
cheer
never
up.
had a book.
He never had a book.
So that means, oh my god, that means at some time before any of these events were changed, it just started with a box and a key. And he sent off this boy with no book or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Because there wasn't a book yet. Is that kind of what I'm understanding here?
Kind of, but because of his decision to send the boy off, the book comes into reality.
So he then, just in the scene that we watch, has the full book in front of him now and goes, okay.
Yeah.
Now it's all going to come together. Now, where the Master of Masters and Xehanort's differ, I'm not entirely sure. Because Xehanort's not going to be happy if some guy comes to try and push him out of the limelight. So I don't know how that's all going to play out.
I don't know either.
Because Xehanort wants the strongest Keyblade ever created, which isn't mentioned in this movie once. Yeah. It's not mentioned once, because the Keyblade was meant to come when Kingdom Hearts was summoned.
Yeah.
So maybe we could imply that maybe one of the foretellers gets the Keyblade. Maybe... I don't know. Someone might have had access to the Keyblade, and then it shatters.
Yeah.
Do the foretellers have nobodies and Heartless running around? Who knows? It's meant to be whoever has a strong heart, which I imagine they have strong hearts.
Yeah.
So...
Well, nobody sees Heartless, at least as far as we know, until... Well, I guess the first sighting would be when Aqua runs into them. The first fight in...
Well, it's weird because the app does have Heartless. So that's the weird thing. Heartless are known.
Oh.
But if what you're saying is about the book and everything about Heartless, that means that they shouldn't really have an understanding about what Heartless are yet. I came into this movie thinking, I'm going to get some sort of answers. There are no answers in this movie. No answers. Do not expect answers. Do not expect to listen to this and gain answers.
Yes, we're confused, bamboozled, a little bit awestruck, distressed is a good word.
Waiting.
We're seeking answers at this point. We're at a loss.
And I am excited beyond belief to play through all of the games again when the collection releases.
Yeah.
And listening in for words such as fade and book and organization.
Yeah.
And
I just want to know who the Master of Masters is or what he represents. I kind of see him as a kind of, I don't know,
Braig-esque. We haven't even talked about what Braig's plan is in all of this.
Not only that, I kind of see him as either like a Father Time or fate-based deity of some sort.
Why is he the master? Why is he decided to be the master?
Why is he the master? Why did they call him the Master of Masters?
It literally in its description says he is just a human.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a Keyblade. He doesn't even use a Keyblade.
Why is he so relaxed about the surety that the world is going to come to an end as they know it?
Because he has an escape plan, is what I'm guessing.
Either that or he's like the whole thing is like, don't fight it. But you can if you want. I'm not going to stop you.
Me. Yeah.
He's like, if you play D&D, he's like a true neutral deity. Do what you want, or don't.
Doesn't matter to me.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter in the long run either. He's very what's the phrase? It's like a philosopher. Like he's very. He very strongly believes, or he knows that certain things are going to happen, and there's nothing that they can do that will stop it. The train is rolling on the tracks. It's about to go over the cliff, and there ain't no amount of brakes that's going to stop that train from going.
There's not, and wow, like I feel a lot better having talked about it.
Yeah. That's why I wanted to record it as soon as we did it, because it's like there's so much information overloading my brain.
And if you gain anything from listening to this, I mean, it's a waiting game. Kingdom Hearts always is. Me and Chris will be sitting here probably till the day we die talking about what the hell happened in this series.
We really will. It's a mess, but it's a good mess, and I enjoy it.
It's a great mess, and applause to Nomura and his team. This new installment in the series has just made us. We were never really done with Kingdom Hearts. We never have been, but now we are kind of revitalized.
Yep.
In our hope that one day we will be putting into a console of some kind in the near future a disc that reads Kingdom Hearts 3, the end of the shit.
The end of the shit.
No more questions. No more fake news. No more anything.
Yep.
And by God, just an answer. No more speculation.
Answers, yeah. At
just
this point,
facts that you can slap in the face.
I mean,
of anyone.
That is one thing I will say. I enjoy it. I like games like this.
I love the community for it too.
I wanted to get you, Cameron, into Blaze Blue because it's very much the same sort of what the fuck is going on, and even by the end of it, you don't have all the answers. Now, I'm afraid that's going to happen to Kingdom Hearts. I'll be okay if there are still some mysteries because they have said that they want to continue the series.
Mm-hmm.
But there are a lot of things that we need the answers to. I think just about anything dealing with Xehanort, we need the answers to.
And something that this game doesn't even bring up, which is really interesting when you think about it, the Princesses of Heart, which all they were used for in the first game was to bring about Kingdom Hearts again. That's the only way Ansem had access to that door was because he had the hearts of the princesses, which you save inevitably, but he still had like the power stored up because, as we've mentioned before, Kingdom Hearts is just a gathering of mass power in one place. Which let us not forget that Xehanort literally told Maleficent about the Princesses of Heart, knowing that she would be greedy and wanting to collect them to gain power.
Yep, master manipulator.
Xehanort knew. This is the fucking thing I'm trying to get at here. Like, he was there in Birth by Sleep doing his own plan, but just decided to tell this witch about this other plan that he knew would come to help at some point if his plan didn't work, which it did. Inevitably, it failed.
Mm-hmm.
But as a scientist, he knows that there are different variables and different things that you can take into account.
That's a very good description of Xehanort. Xehanort is a scientist.
Pure. I mean,
he's a scientist of evil.
I don't even think. I mean, every time I think about the ending of Kingdom Hearts, I see him as this like kind of torn and just like him being defeated. I don't think that's capable for Xehanort. I think he would clap.
Yep.
If he got defeated, he would clap and just see it as a chance.
Well done.
Well done. You have disproven my theory. You have disproven a prophecy that was written. And to think that some clueless, just stupid boy with a duck and a talking dog have stopped years of planning. Like, that will literally be his approach to it, I feel like. He would literally applaud them for stopping him. Because he would have no understanding at this point how it failed. But he would probably accept it.
Yeah. I don't know. Time and Kingdom Hearts 3 will tell us the rest of the story. But I think for now, that's enough.
It is, and thank you so much if you have actually stuck through listening.
If you've stuck through an hour and 45 minutes.
You are a champion.
A gentleman.
And a scholar. A Kingdom Hearts scholar at that.
Hearts scholar. And let us know what you think in the comments.
Please do.
Get like a community
I will
going.
Personally respond to your comments. If you
As will I.
We will take time out of our day if you want to talk to us.
But, yeah, and expect some Kingdom Hearts playthroughs in the future.
Yay.
At some point. We're planning on it. We were going to do it before Outlast if you've watched the other stuff we do on the channel.
Watch Outlast, please.
Watch
it's funny.
Outlast. It's funny.
It's funny.
We think it's funny. If you don't think if you don't think it's funny,
then
leave
by
us a
all means,
comment.
leave us a comment
telling us that how much we suck, and we'll read it, and we'll cheer because we have a comment. But yeah, we were gonna do it before Outlast, and then Outlast just kind of became a thing, and now we're almost done with Outlast, so we'll probably finish Outlast first. But yeah, so we're almost done with it. Like maybe one more recording session, and yeah, so.
So may your hearts be your guiding key. This would be my statement.
Don't. I'm convinced that that's a terrible, terrible lie. But yeah, so thank you very much for listening, and
to all a good night.
Man, Kingdom Hearts.